This is WCCO-4 News at 10.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Randy Kay.
And I'm Dennis Dota. Don has the night off. A small Minnesota town tonight is mourning the loss of its mayor. In the past hour, we learned Racine's mayor, Gary Landgrebe, died in a helicopter crash today. He was 47 years old. Landgrebe was the student piloting the helicopter that crashed just south of Rochester this afternoon. The flight instructor with him survived. Investigators say a mechanical problem likely brought the two men down. Witnesses say Landgrebe was trying to land when the two-seater slammed into this farm field. The helicopter's owner actually owns this property as well and offers flight training. He knows both men and saw the whole thing happen.
There was an eyewitness right over there by that building, over there by the other helicopter, that saw him coming in, saw the plane, helicopter acting kind of funny. Couldn't tell what was on. They kind of come over the corner of the shed here, and these two big tanks back here, about 100 feet in the air, and all of a sudden just flopped on its top.
The impact killed Landgrebe. Rescuers flew his instructor, Joseph Fishburne, to the hospital where he is critically hurt. The Olmsted County Sheriff's Department told us federal investigators are now looking into this accident. They plan to publicize more information about the crash tomorrow. Investigators also say this wasn't Landgrebe's first accident. He walked away from another one back in April.
Tonight, a Twin Cities family says they can't believe their eyes. They returned from a family reunion this evening to find their home destroyed. An explosion tore through this house on 24th and Upton Avenues North in Minneapolis this morning. Tony Berlin is live at the Minneapolis fire station that responded to the blast. Tony.
Well, investigators here, Randy, are still trying to determine what caused this house to explode, but we were there as family members and the homeowners arrived home for the first time seeing what's left of their house.
Yeah, it did.
This is what Lucy Irving came home to. Family and friends held on tightly to each other, numbed by what they saw.
I've never seen anything like this before in my life. I don't understand it.
The whole house.
Lucy's daughter tells us she and her baby girl almost didn't go to the big family reunion in Mississippi.
No, I started not to go. And it would have been me and my baby here. Oh, my God.
Neighbors heard the loud explosion just before 5 in the morning. Firefighters were able to keep the flames under control before they could spread. Next door, Lance got his sleeping family out as quickly as possible. He says flames shot up 2 stories high.
Wife and I ran and grabbed our kids and ran outside, and the house was already completely engulfed in flames that were up at least as high as the top of the trees.
Lucy's son broke the news to her by cell phone, as he says she was driving back to Minnesota.
She was shocked. She said, well, she's on her way back home, So I said, well, I'm going down there.
Fire crews picked through the rubble to make sure all were accounted for. Now investigators are probing for a possible gas leak or some other cause. Lucy says she can't believe it's gone.
We left, going to a family reunion. Came back without a house.
Now, many neighbors tell us that they think it's strange that few, if any, personal items were visible in the rubble today. Investigators tonight will only tell us that they continue their investigation and that the cause is still undetermined.
All right, Tony, thank you. A longtime home daycare has abruptly closed amid sex abuse allegations.
That daycare used to be run out of this home near Rogers. Investigators told us they suspended its license because of an imminent threat of harm. Parents of at least 2 daycare kids say their daughters were molested by a teenage boy. Because he's just 13, law enforcers can't tell us what happened to him. A small trinket is the target of America's largest recall. A WCCO-I-team investigation first uncovered dangerous levels of lead in toy jewelry. Now the gumball machine toys won't be imported unless they are proven safe. In the meantime, the government is asking for your help to protect your kids. Here's Terry Gruca.
It's the largest recall ever. 150 million pieces of toy jewelry recalled by the Consumer Product Safety Commission because of dangerous levels of lead. Dangers the I-team discovered in May.
You're bringing us the information the last time you were here prompted us to go out and check out your story.
Now 4 jewelry companies will have to remove all of their jewelry from gumball machines across the country because if children suck, bite, or swallow that jewelry, they could be poisoned by the lead.
We saw from really no lead levels to up to 69% lead in some of this jewelry. And so that gave us an impression that there's quite a lot of lead in all of this jewelry.
Studies have shown even a small amount of lead can cause permanent neurological damage or learning problems. A spokesperson for A&A Global Industries, Brand Imports, Cardinal Distributing, and Ellen Becker says they have all agreed to stop importing the jewelry until it can be proven safe.
Their number one concern is safety and the safety of children, and they want to make sure that there is nothing that could be any problem to these children.
But because the lead-based jewelry has been sold for the past 2 years, the government warns parents to look for this stuff at home. Look for metal jewelry that's sold for between 25 and 50 cents. It may have paint or gemstones or be solid metal. 4-year-old Colton Burkhart's parents say this action is long overdue.
I don't want any other children at risk. I would hope that they wouldn't want children at risk and that they would help eliminate the problem.
Doctors diagnosed Colton with lead poisoning last year after he swallowed this piece of jewelry from a gumball machine. We checked with his mother just this week, and his lead levels are still 4 times normal. Doctors continue to monitor him.
Colton's mom just told Terry he's back on medicine to bring down his lead levels. If your child may have been exposed to this jewelry, ask your doctor about a blood lead test. To learn more about the recalled toys, click iTeam at WCCO.com.
What? A terrorist attack. When, where, and how? Unknown. Homeland Security leaders warn they have credible reports that al-Qaeda's next move against America is almost ready. The government says a large-scale attack is being designed to disrupt this fall's elections. Beyond the political conventions, investigators are hunting for ways to secure places that we vote as well. Minnesota law enforcers will also step up security when the presidential candidates visit. So, what can we do? Keep vigilant.
Notify the proper authorities when you find information that makes you uncomfortable. Notify local law enforcement to suspicious activity, and maybe that piece is the missing piece to the puzzle that they're trying to solve.
Despite the new warning, the government has no plan to raise the terror threat level.
Tonight, a Minnesota terror suspect accused of training with al-Qaeda is back in the Twin Cities. Yesterday, a grand jury indicted Mohammed Kamal el-Zahabi on 2 counts of lying to federal agents. Investigators say he denied shipping radios overseas and helping terrorists get a fake driver's license. The FBI is also investigating whether el-Zahabi was part of an al-Qaeda sleeper cell in Boston. He moved to this apartment near the University of Minnesota 3 summers ago. El-Zahabi goes before a judge in Minneapolis tomorrow morning. The millionaire accused of taking Enron from boom to bust says blame him for the company's collapse. Just don't call him a criminal. Ex-CEO Kenneth Lay surrendered to the FBI in Houston this morning. After being cuffed, he pleaded not guilty to accusations of securities, bank, and wire fraud. Attorneys say Lay knew Enron was in trouble, then manipulated the company's books to prop up stock prices. Lay insists he didn't know everything going inside the energy giant. This next story is the way we'd hope all lost pet tales would end.
CCO's Mary Tan explains how a curious cat made it home 2 years after striking out on its own.
She's a tortoiseshell kitty who's not happy. After 2 years out on her own, she's finally coming home. Squeak sneaked out from the backyard of her South Minneapolis home 2 years ago. But today she was reunited with her owner, Tom Strum.
Hi, remember Dad?
Tom is in shock. Someone turned Squeak into the Animal Humane Society in Coon Rapids.
Hi. Hi, baby.
Somehow the multicolored cat traveled from South Minneapolis all the way to Anoka High School, 30 miles away. She was found Monday roaming the school grounds. Judging from her condition, shelter workers think someone's been feeding and caring for her all this time. So the question is, how did the shelter know who Squeak's dad was? Well, the tortie had been microchipped.
Well, Callie here isn't as lucky as Squeak. Folks here at the Animal Humane Society say only between 2 to 4% of all cats and dogs are ever returned to their original homes.
Squeak's owner microchipped her when she was a kitten. The procedure is similar to a shot. Tom's looking forward to reuniting Squeak with her sister.
She looks, she's got the same build as her sister.
Does she?
Yeah.
Can't believe how little she is.
Well, her sister plays outside all the time. But she comes home. You don't. Maybe she'll get fish for breakfast.
Yeah. I suppose.
If only Squeak could talk. You know, most veterinarians offer microchipping services, and Mary checked and found the costs usually range from about $40 to $60 an animal.
Well, get on the ball. Pat Miles has tips to improve our golf game. First, Rebecca's story. Her eyesight is fading. See how a dad is racing to show his daughter the world. Next on WCCO 4 News.
The St. Paul Saints have become a staple in the Twin Cities. The games are known for outlandish acts and a fun family atmosphere. But for years, there's been another side of this team that you may not have seen, one that raises money to help find a cure for blindness.
Tonight, Terry Gruca shares the story of a young lady whose inspirational outlook on life may be the true meaning of blind faith.
It's called America's greatest pastime. Baseball is much more than that to Rebecca Veck.
It's an art of your fans, your players, and your field.
Thanks for coming tonight.
Programs, $2.
Rebecca grew up around the game. In fact, some might argue her family is baseball. Her grandfather, baseball legend Bill Veck, owner of the Indians, Browns, and the White Sox.
Hello, sir.
How you doing? Rebecca's dad, Mike, followed in his footsteps. Today, he's part owner of 4 teams and president of 3, including the Twin Cities' favorite St. Paul Saints, where pigs and pitchers mingle. The Saints Stadium is a place Rebecca knows as well as her own home, which is pretty amazing when you consider what happened to her at a young age.
She went for a preschool check here, and they said she had a vision problem. We took her to the eye doctor, and that confirmed the worst fears. When they went in, they took the pictures and could see the stuff in the back of her eyes going all wrong.
Doctors diagnosed Rebecca with retinitis pigmentosa, a form of macular degeneration, when she was just in 1st grade. That's a disease that mainly affects people that are older. They tend to see the world with tunnel vision. For Rebecca, it's completely opposite. She only has peripheral vision. And doctors suspect she'll eventually go completely blind.
You want to control it. You want to make it all right, and you can't.
But instead of waiting to see what might happen, Rebecca's parents had a vision.
You talk to any person that lost their sight, they remember every single thing they did see. So, you want them to see the ocean, you want them to see the desert and the mountains.
We wanted to stop and show her all those things, so it gave us an idea, a goal, that was attainable in a situation in which there are no attainable goals.
What they got in return was far more than any of them ever imagined.
When we took her to the Grand Canyon, she couldn't see it, but it snowed. Magically, it snowed. So the sky got dark and the white snow layers hit that, and then you could see the contrast, and she grasped what she was seeing.
That was my 15th time to see the Grand Canyon, and I can assure you I never saw the Grand Canyon the way I saw it with Rebecca.
Rebecca's life, full in so many ways, remains unchanged in others. Everything inside her South Carolina home sits in the same place it's been for 6 years. Even as she's losing her sight, she soaks in grand images surrounded by Charleston's rich history and beauty.
Downtown, I love the old houses because you can go on tours and see the insides, and they're really, really pretty.
Life in all places is a completely different experience when you're with Rebecca.
And we stopped once in this field of roses where it's for acres, the smell in Southern California, it was staggering. And I never smelled anything so sweet. We stopped next to a cotton field, and it doesn't matter to me that we stopped for 4 minutes because she could feel the cotton balls. She could take the cotton balls and rub them on her face, and I could say, these are cotton balls.
I can still see the places in my head, so if it ever did happen, then I could still remember what they looked like.
It teaches me about courage. She's a courageous human being. They have 2 choices. They can whine or they can buck up, and she's opted to buck up. And so I'm looking at the world through her eyes.
It's certainly something to see.
God knows I can handle it, and he'll take care of me.
Rebecca has touched so many people that every time the Saints hit a home run, fans send a hat around to collect money for a cure for blindness. So far, people have contributed $16,000 to the foundation fighting blindness.
Awesome.
Is that something?
Yeah.
Hello, hello.
What's that?
What do we hear, Mr. Douglas?
Are you hearing something?
Yes, and we know it's not your talent up there. You must not be alone up on the roof.
It's not Memorex, it's not a recording, it's the real thing. Today's forecast was probably music to your ears. This is about as nice weather-wise as it's going to be for a long time. But I'm up here with violinist extraordinaire Michael Sutton from the Minnesota Orchestra. Here is a visual reminder, along with Bach, that Zomerfest is here. It kicks off tomorrow, and it goes right through the end of July. In fact, tomorrow at noon, they're calling it a day of music, 24 hours straight, starting noon tomorrow, going through noon Saturday. 5 different venues, all kinds of music, and the Minnesota Orchestra is going to